Hello students, welcome to class. Our topic for this lesson is limited companies. In this class, we'll be looking at the meaning of limited companies, types of limited companies, and formation of limited companies. We'll be starting off with the meaning of limited company. A limited company is a business that is owned by its shareholders, run by directors, and most importantly, the liabilities of shareholders for the debt of the business is limited. Limited liability means that the investors can only lose the money they have invested and no more. This encourages people to invest in the company and or set up such a business knowing that they can only lose what they put in if the company fails. For people or businesses who have a claim against the company, limited liability means that they can only recover money from the existing asset of the business. They cannot claim the personal assets of the shareholders to recover amounts owed to them by the company. Now let's move on to types of limited companies. The first we have is private limited company, that is limited by shares. Now a company owned by private shareholders whose liability or responsibility of the company is limited to their initial percentage of capital invested in the company. So if a shareholder invested 30% of the capital, then that shareholder is only liable for 30% of all debts, legal liabilities and responsibilities. Because this is a private limited company, this means that the shares cannot be offered to the public and are purely owned by private shareholders. Next we have is private limited company, that is limited by guarantee. This type of setup is primarily used by non-profit organizations since there are no shareholders or capital in the company. Instead, you have members who act as guarantors for the company and may invest charitable donations into the business to help keep it running. Things like sports clubs and associations are good examples of companies limited by guarantee. Next we have is limited liability partnership. This is similar to the limited by shares type of company, but instead of shareholders owning part of your company, you have partners each owning part of the company. The difference here is that the amount of liability or responsibility of each partner isn't based upon their initial capital invested. Instead, the company is equally shared out and divided between the limited liability partners. For example, if two people went into a limited liability partnership together, they would each be liable for 50% of the company, no matter what their initial investment was in the company. We also have public limited company, PLC. This type of company allows the shareholder to own shares sold and freely trade to the general public. You can either be listed or unlisted on the stock exchange, but you will tend to find them listed there, which allows the public to easily buy and sell their shares. There are two guidelines which must be adhered to setting up a limited or public limited companies. We also have private unlimited company. This is quite a rare type of company and is a hybrid company which is set up much like a limited company. However, the shareholders or members all have the unlimited liability of the company, no matter how many shareholders there are or what capital they invest. Every member is equally responsible for all the liabilities and responsibilities of the company. Now let's move on to formation of limited liability company. We have 1. Members. The first step in forming a limited liability company is determining precisely who will own the business. A limited liability company owners are called members. The company must have at least one member, but in theory, there is no limit to how many members the business may have. 2. We have types. In forming a limited liability company, members are not limited to individuals. Any type of legal entity, which may include a corporation, a partnership, individuals, and even another limited liability, can be a member of a limited liability company. A single limited liability company can have a combination of these types of owners. Next, we have articles of association. The legal document used to create a limited liability company is known as its article of association. Next, we have is time frame. A limited liability company legally is formed the moment the article of organization or article of association is submitted with the or filed with the relevant registering authority, in Nigeria the Corporate Affairs Commission. Next is expert assistance. Generally speaking, legal assistance is not necessary when forming a basic limited liability company. However, retaining a lawyer to help in the setting of a limited liability company is important to help in dealing with the complicated aspect of the law. And before we go, let's take a quick assessment. Question 1. What is a limited liability company? Question 2. Mention 5 types of limited liability company. Question 3. Give 4 features of a limited liability company. Question 4. Explain article of association. And lastly, how is a limited liability company formed? Good luck. With this, we've come to the end of this class. Thank you for watching. See you in our next class. Bye bye.